Hi, I'm Ross Millman with Force Product Supply. I'm here with Zach Giacchino of Affinity Stone. We're going to put together a kind of long form video here, really going into depth about Affinity Stone, help answer a lot of your questions, really talk through the product, allow us to really tell the full Affinity Stone story. And so with that, I just want to kick it off, introduce Zach, and let you tell us, how did you guys get started? How did you get in this business?
Yeah. So the brand Affinity Stone is unique to the product, but it's not actually the company. Stone Creek Products is actually the overall parent company that encapsulates Affinity Stone. So how the company actually started was stone distribution, traditional masonry stone distribution. So throughout the Midwest, we supplied major masonry outlets with hand-laid traditional stone. So we did that for years and we're successful with that. Along the way, got a really good finger on the pulse on the masonry world, the demand of stone. And then along the same time, uh, ownership of the company, they have deep roots in manufacturing. So they knew they wanted to be producing something of their own. And actually, at the time, it was a huge boom in demand for outdoor living products. So uh, they actually jumped into concrete paver manufacturing. So traditional segmental pavers, so concrete pavers. They started doing that for years and were successful. That's actually where I entered into the company. That was my space before that. Is I was in the outdoor living space, so came in there. So because of that, we had a strong background in stone knowledge. We could see the demand was on a huge upward trend, and concrete knowledge, manufacturing pavers
Yeah.
for all those years. So we took the strengths that we had going, stone selling ability with concrete paver manufacturing knowledge. We meshed them together and really came up with a more specialized product. And that's how Affinity Stone was born.
Yeah. So you guys are now creating this Affinity Stone product, and you're doing it locally here in Arthur, Illinois. So tell us about just kind of being local, being right here in the heartland, and just kind of what that means to you guys and how it's kind of helped you grow, especially in our market and the Midwest in general.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a cornfield. We're in Central Illinois. That's where our roots are. That's where the family's from. I'm about an hour and a half here from St. Louis, so very local. It translates in the people. We're just blue jean wearing kind of people. We treat our business partners like our friends, and they become our friends for sure. So we make all decisions not just with our own thoughts in it, also how it impacts our customers, both end user, dealer, and distribution partner. So we're just kind of the good old boys in the market.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. So, and when designing the product, it's going to feel like Midwest product because that's where it came from. All the color trends, the color palette, the configuration of stone, they were all based off of successful winners in stone masonry distribution. So we had a pretty good feel for that on what was going to be successful, and the colors are going to feel like they came from your driveway because they literally do. This
Yeah.
color right here, it's Kentucky limestone. Um, Go out in your driveway and look down. You're going to see all these same hues. And there's different colors that replicate different hues throughout. Missouri, it's going to be more of a Cambridge color. Look down, you're going to see your brown hues. So it just all came from right here.
Yeah, right here locally, which is great. And we don't get that enough in our industry. It seems like things have actually become more global, obviously. But here we are going kind of in the reverse direction. And with it, it's also made things a lot more seamless, comfortable. We're working together a lot better, right? I mean, we're able to provide more local feedback. We're able to visit the mills. It creates a really unique opportunity here, and we're really enjoying that. And I think most of our customers appreciate supporting an Illinois business and the manufacturing jobs and the goodwill that that brings to that area and the state in general.
Sure.
Um, you guys talked about how you have this manufacturing backbone or DNA, and I can testify to this. When we first visited Affinity out in at their manufacturing plant, so we got to tour their plant where they manufacture the Affinity Stone product, but attached to that, they also have a very extensive and robust plastic manufacturing business. We got a tour of that facility, which was really impressive. Tell us a little bit about that side of the business and how you've been able to incorporate some of that into this product that helps us really make you guys really best in class in manufacturing as well.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of companies that are kind of working together that are kind of behind the scenes of Affinity Stone. like he said, the plastic. We have a plastic company there, and they are producing the bracket that's actually built into the back of the product, um, along with our Affinity main line there. So that's been very useful as far as being able to streamline supply. In the last couple of years, you know
Yeah.
how challenging that's been. And at the end of the day, when you can streamline things, it's a benefit because you can control things. The only person to point the fingers at yourself,
Yeah.
but we'll take that risk and run that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys get started then in Affinity Stone. You put out your first product, which is always a scary proposition. You got to kind of expose yourself to the market and get the feedback. And the best lesson is just get your product out there, right? And you guys did that. Tell us about kind of getting started, that first iteration, and then the evolution to where you're at today.
It was comical. So yeah, the very first product we launched with was Cliff Ledge 1.0, and it was our baby, and everyone was super excited. And in the early stages, some of the colors we thought were really nice. We look back and we're laughing almost. There's been a lot of growth. So I can remember the very first installation we did. We did it in a local restaurant. Uh, we put it up, and it looked great. And it was the two owners, our engineer, and myself, and the production head of production was there too. And we put it all up. We all stood back and just looked at it, and everyone was kind of quiet. And I think it was myself or Dave, one of the owners. Is anybody going to say it? And I was like, you can see the panel. Um, so yeah, our first version wasn't perfect, but we got liabilities and projects out there, and we thought it was so important to have a panel that's unrecognizable on the wall as far as panel interaction that we scrapped the entire the molds, got rid of all those, redesigned it, and came back with actually ridge cut, which on the wall you cannot tell where the panel starts and stops.
Yeah. So let's talk more about that panel to panel interaction and the seam. So for everyone that's familiar, obviously, you're taking a traditional panel, whatever size it may be, in panelized veneer stone, and you're stacking those up on a wall. Eventually, you are going to see seam after seam after seam, and that's a byproduct of a lot of panelized stone, which I think the market accepted for a while. And you guys thought that, hang on, time out, we can actually do this and make it so you can't see those seams. So tell us how you got to that point and how that's been kind of your driving force to design the panel that exists today.
So you got to realize we were in stone distribution and traditional masonry, so we were selling against a panelized stone. So we were quote unquote stone snobs. We could spot it from a mile away. You'd be driving down the road and you'd almost laugh on the inside, like So that was the most important thing in the aesthetics. We did not want you to be able to see our panel. So how we did that is we put an offset design in the product. So there's not going to be harsh lines, along with stone heights that match offsets, um, a substantially thicker product. So we can dig these joints in between stones so much deeper than our competition because we have a thicker product.
Yeah, so just to give everyone a perspective here, when we talk about a thicker product, what does this measure in terms of depth here?
Yeah, so you're max at 2 3/4 inch off the wall here. So you're left with about 2 inches on average of your actual stone itself.
Yeah, which is quite extensive, and it creates a stout, sturdy product as well.
Yeah. So when that goes together, you should not be able to pick out where the panel starts and stops. And I think that's where a lot of the successes come from, the demand from on a retail level. The customers are recognizing that, and that's why they're choosing it.
Yeah. So, you've got this design. Tell us a little bit more about the kind of the bracket, the tongue and groove, and kind of what's going on behind the panel that you might not see when it's on the wall.
Yep. So like the homeowner, they just care how it looks, and they want it to look like masonry, right? The contractor, that's important to him, no doubt. That's a hot point whenever you bring it up, but he cares how it installs. So some of the barriers of the category have been just to almost, it's a good installation, but it's not a great installation, right? So what we did is we built a bracket into our product here. So all your connection points are made with something that we can precisionally manufacture. Again, back to our plastic company, right?
Exactly.
So they're producing this. They can hold a super tight tolerance. It's not just plastic doing all the heavy lifting. We've got some metal incorporated in here that are doing all your heavy lifting, but your plastic bracket does just all your alignment and connection points. So what it does is you'll have a starter strip on the wall, and this will hook right into your starter.
Okay.
And then so at the bottom, it's hooked. You got support pegs on the wall.
Yep.
So that makes for a big rain screen. So moisture that comes in the system can self-relieve itself quick and easy, and it's going to breathe really well, along with support. So on the wall, it is hooked to the bottom, support pegs on the back wall, and screwed and attached here. Along with that, the offset, it's going to have, so it doesn't have any lateral movement with it.
Sure.
So it's just going to make for a seamless, tight installation and a solid mass up on the wall.
So that prevents a lot of the rattling sometimes that you might see.
Rattling, there's no going to be slamming doors and hearing stone down the wall or anything like that. So that was pretty important to the contractor.
Now, also that bracket, so throughout the panel, that bracket, the concrete's poured around that, right? So it kind of acts as rebar within the panel itself.
Yeah, and that's something pretty important. So this bracket itself, it's not just a connection point top and bottom. There's actually pieces that come through here, long legs, and like you said, it acts as rebar, so it supports itself in shipping, which is pretty important to have minimal breakage out there.
Yeah, one of the things we experienced previously was just, and everyone can testify to this, was just product getting to a job site and it being cracked. Hairline cracked down the middle, a couple cracks throughout, and a lot of waste. And obviously, that can be acceptable up to a point, but it was becoming a problem, and a problem in the fact that it just was too regular. This has really solved that breakage issue. I think so far, I don't think we've had a single broken panel, period. I have personally dropped this from 6 feet to test it, and yes, you will chip the corners, but the panel itself will not break. So that is extremely important, and obviously is working really, really well. And again, it goes back to kind of being a manufacturer, thinking about things holistically, knowing what the field was experiencing, and kind of taking those and just coming up with kind of a better product. So we've talked a little bit about the design. Let's talk a little bit more about the packaging too. So we've got some of the boxes here. Tell everyone, how does this show up to a job site? What can people expect?
Yeah. So the design of the product probably eliminates a lot of the breakage just with the overall design, but I think the package kind of comes into play as that as well. So we're not going to look like most of your other panelized stone out there. We're going to kind of, going back to our masonry roots, we're kind of leaning back to traditional masonry sized boxes. So it helps aid in transportation and maneuverability around job sites. So it comes 5 panels per box, and there's 10 square foot at a time. So that's how you order it.
Very easy.
Back to easy math, right?
Yeah.
2 square foot per panel and 5 panels. So it'll come with all wax boxes. These are designed to live the lifetime of the job site, and after that, they can be discarded and got rid of.
Yeah. Now, it is important to note that it's not necessarily a one-man job moving these, right? We're weighing out at about 120 pounds a box.
125 pounds,
125 pounds. So, we recommend kind of a 2-man team kind of moving this around. There's probably some guys that can do it individually. I'm not one of them personally. But
no, I actually started doing it in the beginning, and then Dave, one of the owners, he said not to do that anymore.
Yeah. So just, best practice is take care of your back, take care of your health, and work around with 2 people. But that being said, they're going to stack neatly in here. They're labeled individually, so it's going to have the color, the cut, if it's a flat or a corner. These ship really well on our trucks. They ship well on your trucks. They go to a job site. They're stored pretty easily. It works very, very well, and it's a good system. So we've talked a lot about the product. Let's talk about the looks, because really, you talked about how panel-to-panel interaction to reduce seams is huge, which is absolutely true. But we've also got this great-looking product. So let's talk about the cuts and the colors that are available out there.
Yeah, sure. So again, I hate to keep leaning on it, but stone industry knowledge of what cuts work, what colors work.
Yep.
Are what we really leaned on when we were designing this, right? Along with, we needed to build a profile that played with the outside geometry of the panel. So you can have all this wild, intricate stuff, but sometimes unique lines make for recognizable on the wall, right? So there was a learning curve on how to build a product that looked really nice, but looked really nice in a panelized form.
Sure.
Right? So when we designed it, we learned a lot by our first stumble, and weren't going to make that mistake again. So redesigned it. So what we offer is our ridge cut profile, which is more of your traditional masonry ledgestone look. So it's made up of stones 2 inches, 4 inches, and 6 inches here.
Okay.
And it's all at random. So you got a bunch of different molds. You're never going to be able to pick out this panel down the wall. Oh, there's that panel again.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if we were to stack 2 panels, identical molds right next to each other, they're completely colored at random.
Yeah.
So you're not even going to pick out, because this gray stone might be this lighter stone this next time. So it's not going to draw the eye.
Yeah.
It's going to disguise itself really well. So ridge cut is probably more of your traditional markets. It seems to do really well. And then our second profile was cliff ledge. So cliff ledge came from more of that demand that you're seeing for modern look, more of your dry stack shadow stone, and it's made up of stones that are 1.5 and 3 inches in height. So it's a smaller profile, more modern, more sharpness, more shadowy.
Gotcha. Okay. And I know your historical data so far, ridge cut's been the more popular color.
Yeah.
I think more like 60-40 split, ridge cut.
Yep.
And we've seen that so far. But we've seen a lot of demand in cliff ledge too. So it's not like it's necessarily one or the other or one dominant player. I mean, both are very, very widely used throughout the market.
Yeah, for sure. It's just so dependent. St. Louis might have one demand versus Southern Illinois.
Sure.
They're pretty close to each other, but it's just got different people, right?
Yep.
And different trends and different colors. They might be on the whites down there, and we're already moving back to browns here. So it kind of just depends where you're at. That's why we have 2 profiles.
Yeah. So we've got the 2 profiles, and then there are 5 colors. Talk about the 5 different colors. I know your counterpart Dave's been super invested in just making sure that he's on market and on trend with these colors, and it's really been, I think, his passion and kind of what he's used to kind of differentiate you guys on top of everything else. So let's go through the 5 colors and kind of how you came up with them.
Yeah. So how we came up with them is we wanted something relatable to the market, number one. We wanted good sellers, obviously, and we wanted the stuff that we want to put in our backyard. But sometimes what we think is great, someone else doesn't, or vice versa. So what we did is we leaned on what's out there in the wild, right? Because at the end of the day, we are trying to look like traditional natural stone.
You keep going back to that, and you might be onto something.
Yeah,
but you guys keep going back to that.
Well, that's kind of where it came from. If you look like what's out there, how are they going to tell you don't look like masonry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unavoidable. So, like this aspen color, this is something that you're going to see if you're in Central Illinois and you look down. There's a lot of limestone, a lot of that Kentucky limestone. You got those gray hues, you got those lighter hues, got that touch of rust, which some people love, some people hate.
Sure.
But it's an accent color, and it actually just warms up the palette just enough that it's, once on the wall, it does not pull your eye at all. It just warms up the palette enough. So that's where that color came from. Whites have been so popular lately. Our glacier color, to my knowledge, in the panelized stone,
glacier.
Yeah, I think we're the only one that makes a white panel right now.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So you got to kind of stay with the trend there of having a white option. We do that, and where people want it, it sells really well.
Yeah.
And then we've been so gray and white. Redwood, which is a new color for us, we needed more of that brown because we're starting to see that brown trend kind of come back.
Mm-hmm.
So we listened to the market, we listened to our customers, we listened to our partners, and came in with a color that hits more of those Missouri tones.
Absolutely.
That warmer brown color that you see, Merrimack rock, and all these different options out there. So the colors came from nature, and the stones actually came from actual casted stones. We sent guys out to develop our molds. They go out, and these are poured over real pieces of stone. So that's how the mold process is done.
Yeah. Okay. So 5 really good colors. I mean, what we've seen personally is that it's not like it's heavy to 1 or 2 colors and then everything else is sort of just every once in a while sell. We're seeing a pretty even mix across all 5 colors, and like I said earlier, a really even mix across ridge cut and cliff ledge. And I think that's testament that basically effectively you call that 10 total options, 5 colors and 2 cuts, all of which are really great options for customers, all of which are being used locally in the market, all of which have their own right application. And I think it just testament to that it's good looking all around, every color, every product.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's dive a little bit more into installation here. I think personally, I know when we first looked at this product, if anyone's familiar with panelized stone or ever had any experience with a previous panelized stone, this is a product where you get to see it one time, hear the pitch, and then boom, I got it, which was a huge sell for us just because there was a lot of simplicity. I think there is a standard of panelized stone that has been set out in the marketplace. This clearly hits it. There are a few nuances that go with it. So let's just talk high level about the installation, and then we'll dive into some of those nuances for this product itself.
Yep. So it's going to have the look of the stone with the installation process of siding, right? So just like any siding product, you start at the bottom. So there'll be a starter strip that goes on the wall. And then this tongue will actually hook into your starter strip. Your first course will be laid horizontally. And actually it works best if you lay the stone to the right. So you start at the right, and then you'll slide this into it. That way it hits its offset here, and you're not having to hump over the other panel like that. So it'll lock in, slide in place, run your first course out, and now your next course, your nail fin on your course below it acts as your starter strip for the next course. Okay. So it's all integrated and all built in. So you're hooked at the bottom, supported on the back, and screwed on the top. So you just run this product horizontally throughout. Should we get into flats and corners too along with
Well, let's talk about, so each panel, how many screws are we putting into the nailing flange?
Sure. So you're going to need 2 screws per panel, which that's pretty cool.
2 screws, and do you have to hit a framing member?
You have to hit 1 framing member and then 1 just into your sheeting.
Okay.
As your backer, you're just going to need 1 layer WRB back behind it, and then you're ready to go. Our product is thicker. It has an air gap behind it. You should not be able to see through the panel. If you were to be able to see through the panel because of it got chipped or broke or something like that, it should self-shadow back there, so you wouldn't see the white wrap back behind it.
So I think what Zach's trying to say is, in some applications, you would need to almost put like a dark like felt paper back there, or you would even spray paint maybe. Like if you're going over like a white Tyvek, you'd want to spray paint like black, because if you saw that in between the panel and panel and there was that little bit of gap, it sticks out like just a sore thumb. And this product is self-designed to prevent that from even needing to be done out in the field, which is testament to just good overall design.
Yeah.
So we're talking flat panels. Let's also explain the difference between flat and corners.
Sure. So if you look at it from afar, a flat and a corner, they're going to look pretty close to the same. The outside geometry, in fact, is the same. What makes them different is that long ends will be how they're finished. So a flat, if I can turn this like this, is completely smooth. And the reason for that, it's going to have super tight panel-to-panel interaction, right? So we don't need any texture out there because we don't want to draw eye to the panel here. So this will be completely smooth. Onto a corner, we have one here that's cut. It will have a grout line and texture out on the edge here. So it is important when you're using our product to use both flats and corners. So anytime you are returning around a 90-degree angle and going down with stone, that's whenever you need to use our corner products. So you need to start out on the outside of the corner, wrap the corner, and then run flats from there. So,
and those corners are just for outside corners, not for inside corners, correct?
Correct. Yep. Anywhere that you're not returning around a 90, it's just going to use flats everywhere. Inside corners, even if you're coming to the edge of walls and not returning around a 90-degree angle, you can use flats there.
Okay. So obviously this is a very much a stack and screw system. There are some cuts that have to be made on the site. Talk about what tools are required and the best practice for cutting.
Yeah, sure. So you're always going to default to your local codes as far as any type of protective gear that you need to use, any type of vac systems. So always default to that. But at the end of the day, what you need is a diamond blade, segmented diamond blade saw to make all your cutting. Just 12-inch blade works best. A lot of guys have 10-inch on their job site. A 10 can be used, it's fine. It just makes it to like right here, and then you got to just kind of lean the stone. So, if you're one of them guys that's going to it's a weekend project, maybe it's probably not worth investing in a saw. But if it's going to be a continuous product you're going to work with, get the product or get the tool for the trade, right? So move up to that 12-inch. But you're not going to use any wet kits or anything like that, because with the wet kits, then you're putting moisture onto the face and you're making a slurry there. So any vac systems really work well with it. Some markets require vac systems. Other markets play the wind, right?
Yeah,
Don't let the wind blow it away from you.
sure. Yeah.
Um,
And now there is that metal on the back and the plastic. Do you have to worry about that when you're doing your cuts or cut in specific spots?
nope, you just cut right through the product wherever you need to cut it to length.
Excellent. Great. Um, so we see a lot of these jobs that, the traditional install is kind of that 3 foot wainscot, right? Sometimes you go full walls
Yeah.
and even larger projects. But once we get to the wainscot, we've got the wainscot cap and some of these accessories. So let's dive into kind of what accessories are out there to help complete the professional install.
Yeah. So the wainscot caps we offer in two different options. The overwhelming majority of sales are going to come from nail strip on top, and that comes from
Just like the regular stone.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's where you're transitioning from your stone to your siding. Obviously, you want to be able to screw from the top because you're going to flash right there, and that's where you're going to go up with your siding. But people really, really like the flexibility to have a nail fin underneath. That came from contractors. I would go out and talk to guys in the field, and they're like, you know, everything you have is screw on, but when you come to underneath windows, you guys are telling me to get out the lath and get out the mortar and get out the glue. It's like
Go backwards.
we're not doing that,
Yeah.
right? So we're like, okay. So we designed it to where it's pretty simple in how we did it. We just moved our nail fin underneath. So you can spot it up underneath the window and basically screw from the bottom. So now on that 3 foot window, you're back to your 10-second installation time versus 45 minutes or however long it would take you to set up all your additional steps. So
Yeah.
it's just little things like that. Listen to the contractors; those guys have the best ideas.
Absolutely.
They're the ones out there getting their hands dirty every day with the product. You'd be crazy not to listen to that type of feedback.
Yeah. So we've got the wainscot caps, some of the other accessories: hose bibs, light blocks, receptacle blocks,
Hearthstones, which are
hearthstones.
something unique to us.
And all these are available in a lot of different colors too. I think there are 4 colors for every different accessory, right? So you can match, grays with grays, or tans with browns, or even accent as well to however you want it to look.
Yep, there are 4 accessory colors, and what's cool about those accessory colors is they match with our stone itself, our primary colors. So the base concrete of our actual stone is what's used to pour our accessory colors.
Okay.
So if you see the gray, it's going to be the gray that's in the aspen color.
Yeah.
So it's easy to pick out which stone goes with which. Now, people have different trends that they use. They mix match colors. But our product is dyed throughout, which is important on your cuts. So I'm going to scream out that, oh, there's base concrete on a brown stone. Why is that white right there? So it's going to blend in really well. And in our literature and on our website, we recommend accessory colors with our stone. So again, kind of take that thought process out of dealers' hands, because I understand they have 7,000 different products they're trying to sell, and being well up to date on everything, it's kind of asking a lot, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of offer what we do for if it was our own home, and then you guys take it from there with what you want to do with it.
Gotcha. A lot of great accessories, and then really the well, actually, before we get to that, I want to the most important accessory is really the screws, right? Let's talk a little bit about the screws.
Yeah, so we have our own unique screw that goes with our product. This is where all your connection point happens. So any interaction with this is going to make for a less than pleasant experience. So when we designed our screw, we realized that not many lumber yards and dealers out there had a screw that would work perfect with our product. So we're like, okay, looks like we're getting in the screw game, right? So we designed our screw. It's an 1 5/8. It's a size 10, so it's a little bit bigger than normally what's out there, and it's threaded all the way up. But the head is super low profile, so it does not interact with the connection point here.
Yeah.
So since we brought those on, we did that in the height of COVID, so we kept getting pictures of a freighter out there. There's your screws, So it took a while to get to us, but once they got to us, it's just a no-brainer to use alongside with our products.
I mean, they're competitively priced. They're perfect for the job. I think if anyone's ever putting one up or selling it, the screws are just, they're not required, but they're just a best practice at the end of the day.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so let's go to what a lot of people, and myself included, call the secret sauce of Affinity Stone, and that is the zero cut column kits.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about it gives a finished look, and it addresses the labor, right? Anytime you can hit all three things like that, it makes sense. So this came from myself and some of the other guys on the team going out and job site and visiting job sites with competition stone and just playing dumb and going up, hey, what's going on here? Where's that? Looks nice. You got that back wall done. How come you didn't do columns? Again, from the traditional masonry, the look is everyone has stone columns on the front of their home. Continuous feedback in that space was they are so hard to build that
and build right.
Build right,
yeah,
right. They're so hard to build, and at the end of the day, we're not getting the finished look that we're going for. That we just would rather not do them, right? So we kept thinking about it enough till we thought, well, we'll just build a better product for it. So we designed specific panels that are our column panels. So it's basically a mini version of this, right? So this is a 2-foot panel. The column is an 18.5-inch panel. So we took it even a step further. We could have just made just the panel and say, here you go, build your framing out to whatever spec, but still there's going to be questions on if you build your box right and everything like that. So we supply you with the framing, the starter strip, the screws, the 7-inch lags that go to attach the wood block box to your post, and then the stone. So then you just basically put your stone around, chase it around with no cuts. And then when you get to the top, some part where we could have stopped there too is how do you cap it, right? It's already pre-molded, so where it just fits right around your post size. You just dictate 4x4, 6x6, or 8x8. 6x6 is what we stock, and I think it made up like 90-some% of our sales. So that's going to lead the way for you. But basically, it took a process that is probably about 3 hours, realistically, down to 25 minutes.
Yeah, and I think what's important to note, so these columns, the actual wood framing block is 14 by 14.
Yeah.
And then the finished columns are going to measure 18.5 by 18.5.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So they're a little bit smaller than these traditional size panels, but it's the right scale for a post and column kit to look correct.
Yeah, and how he came up with that size is traditional masonry sales. 22-inch caps made up like the overwhelming majority of a residential sale for a column. So that's where that number
makes
came
sense. From. Yeah. Again, going back to masonry background.
Yeah.
So those kits are designed to go 3 feet tall, right? It's important that, in theory, really any 1 foot increment you could go on those. So you could do a column, say, 10 feet tall, going from floor to, say, ceiling, right?
Yep. So you can either stack all your kits. Obviously, you wouldn't need three sets of caps because you don't need that. So you would just buy the stone, however many pieces you need. You need four panels per foot of height. So you can stack our boxes and modify your top wood box. You could build your own framing out of your box and then just use our stone to go around it. So there's no limitation on that.
Yeah. But again, it's 0 cuts. So a contractor is able to get the product, his post is there, and then he is literally just screwing around there and a little bit of adhesive maybe for this the cap, and boom, he's done.
Yeah. I never like to, whenever I'm going in and introducing someone new to the product, I never lead with the column kit because it just steals the show. It's so marketable. It's so relatable that it just makes sense, right? So I talk about the rest of the product and I always laugh that I'm not going to lead with the best thing because the show's over. All we want to do is talk about these column kits, right? But it is that important to have that option along with our standard product.
And I think what we've seen is that it's a win-win for everyone. So the dealer likes it because they're easy to quote and sell. So previously, if you had a longer panel, you had to figure out, okay, well, what size columns are you doing? Am I figuring enough pieces? Okay, well, what cut are you doing? It was a very complicated process. This is very simple. It's just how many kits do you need? I can figure it and easily put a number on there. The contractor likes it too, just because you said how fast they can go up. So he's getting more, he's able to bid more square footage and more of the product or project in a very simple way. And he's able to do it very fast and effectively as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's the labor pool out there. It's kind of tough right now, right? So finding the skilled labor to be able to replicate the same end product over and over is kind of hard. So we kind of took all those gray areas out of the equation made it simple on everyone, and simple works, right? Simple sells.
Absolutely. So let's key in on the labor component right now. So I think everyone's aware that the traditional stone mason um, is sort of a difficult to source trade, right? I mean, there are fewer and fewer true stone masons. It's an expensive trade. And there's also a lot of limitations with it, right? I mean, there's certain weather conditions that it
Sure.
has to be installed in. It's a longer period of time that it has to be installed over. So the labor benefits to hear from your perspective for a product like Affinity Stone, what are those?
Yeah. So ease of installation, a wider range of labor force that can do this. Again, back to the masonry. Whenever we first launched this, I had a lot of masonry contacts, right? So I'm fresh and green with the product and gonna go out and set the world on fire. Started talking to masons like 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, they wanted to just kick me off their job sites, right? You're coming for my trade. Get out of here.
Yeah,
You know, but within the last few years, there's masons coming to us now. I'm tired of hiring the mud man that he's not coming because it's hard and dirty work, and they understand that. They're not fighting the system anymore. They're getting on board with it, along with just there's such a strong demand for stone right now. So you're dealing with upward demand in stone with declining um, labor force available, and the age of the mason is getting higher and higher and just not replenishing. So we knew technology had to come into play here to help alleviate some of that bottleneck, right? Because everyone still wanted stone. They just who was going to put it up.
yeah,
So now we can have the mason do this. We can have the siding. We can have the framer. Um, the weekend warrior. It doesn't matter. There's no
yeah.
limitations on who puts it on.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting part of this is that really this is actually somewhat of a DIY friendly product. I
100%.
mean, not your baseline DIYer. You got to have the tools and some experience with some projects, but really anyone that has some skill is going to be able to put this up, no problem.
It really surprised us,
Yeah.
the amount of people that will try to tackle a project like this on their own.
Mm-hmm.
In the early stages, when we didn't have distribution and we were a product, we weren't a company, right? Um, the amount of website traffic that we were get from people all over the country wanting to buy our product, wanting to put it on themselves, it kind of blew us away. Actually, so much so the demand was so strong that we had to shut off any sales outside of that because we had to be able to supply our distribution and dealers with the product.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so let's talk about just kind of what the overall advantages are. We've highlighted a lot, obviously, and if we were to summarize those to anyone watching, if someone's looking at any panelized stone product, what are the advantages of Affinity Stone?
Mm-hmm. So increased aesthetics. You're not going to be able to pick out where the panel starts and stops, right? So it's going to look like traditional masonry on the wall, along with increased ease of installation. So it's a simple process for everyone. It's a not weather dependent. Less skilled labor can put this on the wall. Um, a bigger drainage plane in the back of the product, hooked at the bottom, screwed at the top, support peg on the back wall, offset seam to help set your runs on your stagger. So increased aesthetics and easier installation process.
Yeah,
Really.
and I think it's also a lot easier to quote and sell as well, right? I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yep.
We talked about 10 square foot boxes. You talk about columns that are easy to figure. I mean, generally speaking, give me your square footage, and I can quickly get you a quote.
Yep. We have a estimator tool on our website, which does a great job along with your team. They do takeoffs in scenarios like that. So that kind of lets the salesman out there kind of really promote products and not really worry about the back end on it. So ease of bidding is definitely a big part of that.
Yeah. But I think really the secret to this product is at the end of the day, the homeowner has a lot of choices, and what they've seen is the different colors and the look of this, and they're choosing this product. And the important part is after they've chosen it, there's no friction behind that, of an installer saying, well, you don't want to do that, right? That's too hard or that's too difficult, or I can't do that product. What you're finding is guys are saying, fantastic, let's go. That's what I want to put up.
Yep. There's not as many barriers as there were probably 10 years ago with the category.
Yeah.
So thankful for everyone that came before us to help build the market. We just made changes that we thought were necessary to kind of continue the growth and help the whole category overall grow is
Mm-hmm.
what we were going for.
So let's close this off then with talking about just kind of the journey that you guys are on, the growth, and where we're at today. We're filming this, it's June 2023. You guys are still very young and new as a company. You're pretty much at your limit of capacity. What does the future look like, what can everyone expect here over the next year or two?
It's going to be an exciting year for sure. I mean, it's been an exciting process the whole way through, from being the guy that's going out and literally seeing a house getting sticked up and me dropping by with a business card because we didn't even have a catalog yet,
Yeah.
right? Going out there and, hey, just have us as an option anyways, whatever. Or a friend of a friend. What do I got to do to get my stone out there?
Yeah.
To go from that then to, okay, it's time to play with the dealers, going in and building business with dealers, right? And having little wins and seeing the dealers start to take off, and then distribution come on and really just inject the logistics end of it and really help take care of that, and then grow and morph. And now I've got salesmen alongside with me to help join in on it. It's real exciting. So where we are from this year to next year is going to be incredible. We actually have some engineers right now that are there this week signing off on some new equipment. So our capacity is just going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to make the investments of keeping up with the demand that's out there in the market. So from this year to next year, it's crazy to say our product probably won't change that much, but as far as how much product's available to us, it's going to grow tremendously.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting time to be on and part of Affinity Stone for sure.
Yeah, and I think that there's a great saying that build a better mousetrap, and they'll beat a path to your door.
Yeah.
I think in many ways you're seeing that with Affinity Stone.
Yeah.
You've built a better looking, easier to install, easier to quote and sell product, and with that, you have found customers beating a path to your door, and you're at your limit right now, and that's a great place to be. And I think it just shows the truth is there, and the fact that this product is not only superior, but it is what guys keep going back to over and over. This is their new de facto panelized stone that they're using.
Yep, it's kind of been, we're seeing the repeat customers, which at a dealer level, I'm talking to these guys, they're excited because they're like, in the past, we've seen products like this come around, and the guy tries it once because he's excited about the category, and he's slow to bid it the next time, and he's even slower the next time, and the next time after that, he's not going to bid it. But we're seeing the repeat customers because it's the little nuances that we took into account to make it just a little bit better. It's making for better experience for everybody.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I know we covered a lot, and if you focused and didn't hit pause once throughout that, kudos, job well done. But I thought this was a really good discussion. Hopefully, everyone that was following along got to learn a lot out of this as well. If you have further questions, our Force Products team is here to help, as well as Zach and everyone on the Affinity front. Reach out. The best way to really get all the firsthand knowledge that you need is to get your hands on the product and to get out on a job site and to see these things in the flesh, which we're happy to help facilitate. But hopefully this really answered a lot of those questions.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great conversation, and I just want to thank you for the time,
Yeah.
For producing a great product, for doing it locally here in the great state of Illinois, and for being a great partner.
Yeah.
Thanks
a lot. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.